Hey boys and girls, another episode of Commander Revs. Today we are installing an Akrapovic, Moripovich exhaust system, not the full system, just a slip-on. I went with the Aprilia approved, still Euro 4 compliant, still has a catalytic converter version. Don't have to mess with the fuel ECU, no flashing of the ECU, no power commander required. This thing just slips on and off you go. So I went with the full titanium version of that pipe, and should be a fairly straightforward installation. Let's get started. I ordered this part right here. That part number right there is the Euro 4 compliant, street legal Akrapovic aftermarket can for this. Comes with a mid pipe that has the still has the catalytic converter in it. The stock pipe, everything is contained. That's why it's kind of big and ugly, and everybody wants to replace it. Is the stock pipe has everything inside the actual can, including the catalytic converter. So this is a little streamlined. There is a bulge in the mid pipe, of course, for the catalytic converter, which we're going to see here in a sec. So it is all one piece here in the box. Oops, sorry, that was just some bubble wrap there. Do not use a razor knife. Always follow the rules. Oh man, that thing is pretty. So it's not really a mid pipe, it's an all-in-one. I was thinking this was separate, but there is the titanium, full titanium Akrapovic, Moripovich. What do you want to call this thing? Everybody's got their own ideas. Okay, we got instructions. They even give you the bolt sealant, kind of a anti-lock, Loctite kind of thing, the clamp and the hardware. And note, they even give you the certificates to show that this is an approved for the Euro 4 E26. I'd have to look that up to see what that's all about, but they even give you the certificates for proving that this exhaust is street legal, even Euro 4 compliant. Okay, the shroud, 27 Torx bolt. They're pretty snug. Okay, we got the one clamp, and it's hard to see here, but we got these two cables running down. This is the top one right here. Bottom one is kind of right under it, so it's going to this pulley right here, and that's your exhaust flapper valve. So we got to get those kind of loosened up a little bit. 10 millimeter wrench to loosen the collars that are holding these cables on. Loosen this up a little bit just so I can get to loosen the cable up around that pulley. It's kind of hard to get to, so I think I'm going to pull the exhaust off and let it kind of hang down a little so I can get to those a little easier. Number 40 Torx with a 13 nut behind it. Number 13. Grab a socket. I'll just loosen it and see if I can't. I just rotate it. So I can get to those cable nuts a little easier. A little bit of room now. Okay, so you just basically got to get this loose enough so that you can slide this cable out of its holster there. So you get enough slack, you can pop the cable out of its little hole, kind of just like a brake or a clutch lever. There's that one. Okay. Okay, I loosen the clamp the rest of the way. This bolt's off, so they're ready to slide out. Yeah, it was a little snug. Alright, so oddly enough there were no instructions. It was just the disclaimer stuff in there. But so now I have a Torx bolt on the new clamp. We're going to want to put a little bit of anti-seize on there. I'm a big fan of the copper stuff. I know some people like the silver stuff. I think this is the better product. You don't need much. I'm going to thin that way down, otherwise you're going to have copper crap coming out of this seam for a long time, and it'll stain your exhaust. So it's a very thin layer is all you need. So I'm wiping everything down to a very thin film. Same on this side, just a very, very thin. I don't know if you can see in there, but it's just barely coating the metal there. It's probably not the best to get that on your hands. It's kind of nasty stuff, I think. Okay, this is called a slip-on exhaust. So let's slip on the exhaust. All right. Just gonna let that sit there while I hook the cables back up to the flipper valve. While I have a little bit of play to do that with. Now it's hard to see what I'm doing. I can't film and do this at the same time, so I'm just popping these little cable collets or collars, whatever the collet, into their little slot. So basically, got the cable going around. So once you get these cables routed around the pulley again, you just snug these up onto the collet, snug them up right there. Little Loctite would be in order there. And that's what you're looking for right there. Get that into place. I'm going to snug this just a little bit. So we no longer use this bracket where the old one was hooked up. They gave you hardware to hook this up on the back side of the passenger peg. So this bracket and this bolt okay, you put this bolt on. You want the washer for for this bolt. There's a spacer right here. And there we are. So I just have to snug this up, and these two, the bolt back here, this bolt and the clamp. And then we're ready to wipe this thing down. And they do give you the little Loctite stuff, so I guess I'm going to take those bolts out and use it. Since they gave it to you, you might as well. Guess you're just supposed to clip the end off a little. Okay, this stuff is purple, so I guess it's just the Russian version of like our blue Loctite. It's the medium strength. Get some down on this clamp too. It's a nice little seam right here that this clamp sits right up against. This is actually an Allen wrench now, not a Torx. And the nut in the back has kind of a star washer built right in on the back side of the nut, if that makes sense. You know, the back side of the nut is a little bit large like a washer would provide, and it has serrations on it. So don't even have to hold it with a wrench. I can just tighten it from this end. We're all tightened up at this end. Clamp. See that torque wrench? No, I probably should use a torque wrench, but I didn't. Okay, they do give you 3 of these little cable spacer thingies, and I am putting those on. I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll do my best to get the camera in here. Don't know if you can see this or not, but the when I put the brake on, you can just barely see that moving there, but right here where the tip of my finger is. I put 2 of the spacers there just to keep the cable off of the back side of this brake lever, so no chafing will occur. So she's all snugged up. Looks way better. I'm going to drop it off the lift. I'm going to throw the key in the ignition and make sure that valve's working properly. This valve cycles when you turn the ignition on. Seems to work good. Centered up. So before you fire it up the first time, throw some WD-40 or LPS or something onto a rag. You don't need a ton of it, but just wipe it down with this. Everything you've touched. Get the oils of your hands and fingers off. That way it'll blue in nice and evenly and kind of cool. You won't have fingerprints interfering with the bluing in. You don't want blue and purple fingerprints on here. So after you do this, just wipe it down with a dry rag. Dry, clean cloth. Get rid of all the residual WD-40. We'll be ready to fire this thing up. So I think I'm going to be happy with this installation. It took maybe 20 minutes to a half hour, somewhere in there. Fuddling with that cable for the valve, flapper valve back here was probably half the battle, if not more. But yeah, really easy install. There really weren't even any directions. So slip-on means slip-on. So, all right. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit subscribe if you want, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. We are installing an Akrapovic, Moripovich. So that's what's going on, the new Tuono. Hey boys and girls, welcome to another episode. Okay, it's time.